Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey,
And Coach Tom.
and this is Shot Science Overtime number 174. And no excitement on that one?
Sorry about that. I've let all my excitement out before.
So we just want to welcome you guys to our live show. And on our live show, we like to have a question that we talk about at the top, or a topic that we talk about at the top of the show that allows you guys time to send us in your questions on anything basketball related. We got James saying hey, we got Emanuela saying hey. So if you guys have questions or comments, leave them in the chat. Keegan says yo, and we will definitely get to those as soon as we can. It's good to get it in early, because if you get them in early, we get to those usually with more regularity than we do the ones that are at the end of the show. But the topic we have for you guys is something that we think is going to help you become a better basketball player, and is something that we think that might help you in cutting out some of the learning curve and some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Justin says hello. Family Johansson says hey. Locke McLaughlin says hello. Awesome. And our buddy Denvi Star from Moscow is here, embracing how early he is.
All right. You're early. All right.
Yeah, so remember, this is a live show. This is not like a short tutorial or anything like that. This is our time to talk to you guys. So if it's not what you guys are into, then you can get out now, and now would be the time to jump out. But
Yeah, right.
if you have anything from anything basketball related you want to talk about, let us know and we'll get in there. Martin's basketball video says hi from Germany. Chris
Hello.
says what up.
What up? Yep.
So send those questions in. Anything basketball related, shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, how to talk to your coach, athleticism, whatever. We will get into those in just a little bit. But we're going to get into our topic for today, which is your season's over. Now what?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, what it means is that the basketball season is coming to an end, and now we are free. Maybe we're taking and playing another sport, maybe baseball or whatever. But the thing is that the true baseball or basketball players kind of have in their mind that I need to get ready for next season. And this is a great time to do that. I met with a student this morning, and one of the things we talked about is they spend about 80% of their time shooting. Okay, and this young man shoots the basketball pretty good, but he can't put the ball on the floor. And I mean that he can't put it on the floor to go to the basket.
Yep.
And the thing that's really important about that is this, is we kind of look at a lot of the different skills that you develop as a basketball player. We call those tools that you can stuff in your tool bag, and that you can call upon those when the time comes, and that the time is next season. And so we start getting ready for that today. Okay?
Well, I think
or if your season is over in another week, whenever you're ready to step off, and let's maybe take a short break, maybe a week or so, and then let's get busy in developing our game and developing more tools for us to have as offensive players.
Yeah, and there's different ways to approach what you do in the off season.
Yeah.
Some people, as soon as the season's over, they check out and they're going to be on vacation up until the minute that the next year starts up, and that maybe they go into tryouts and they think it's going to just be there like it was before. I don't know, but that's usually not the very serious basketball player. Most of you guys, I'm sure if you're here, you are the serious basketball players, so you know that the minute that the season's over, the next day, that's when your real business gets down to happening.
Yeah.
And, that's when you're going to make the greatest strides in your individual development, your individual skill development. And so you want to get started on that right away. You don't want to just kind of let that time go. That's an important time.
Yeah. And one of the things that happens in this whole development as players that always is kind of disarming for me is the fact that players don't spend enough time working on their ball skills. Because, and we've talked about this in the past meetings that we've had with you guys, and that is, it's not very much fun to just go work on your ball skills, because there's few rewards. If you're working on your shooting, the ball goes through the basket, yes, okay, and so that feels good. And so we need to take and spend some time in developing skills, because as soon as the coach that you're playing against figures out that you can shoot the basketball, you're going to have somebody right in your grill. They're going to be forcing you, they're uptight, and so there's not going to be much room to get that shot off. And so that's why you need to create these other skills off the dribble that allows you to get open for shots, or it allows you to take and get to the rim. And those things are all really important for us as players. And if you don't have that ability when the next season rolls around, maybe you don't get to play so much. Okay, and some guys are working way more than others, and so maybe they slip into those slots because they have the abilities that you haven't spent your time on. So the kinds of things that we look at is this, is that we want to be able to have really confident control of the basketball. And that takes time for us to figure that out. As we develop that confidence in our skills with the basketball, then it allows us to have other abilities. For example, to attack and maybe get a step back, or to attack and really get into and leverage a defensive player where we can get a shot off at the basket. So those are the kind of things that we think are real important for you to think about now that the season is either over or it's almost over.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we always talk about in terms of shot science teachings or methodology is that you need to work at being the most versatile, all-around, well-rounded player that you can be. If you are just specific on one thing, you can only shoot, but you can't drive. You can only play in the post. You can't step at the perimeter. You can't dribble, or whatever it is. You can't make free throws. Those are weaknesses, and they will be exploited. So the off season is time for you to really start focusing in on that diligent, purposeful practice where you can start putting all the pieces together. And if you look at any of those superstar basketball players, whether it's Michael Jordan, Kobe, Steph Curry, anybody, those guys, as soon as the season's over, maybe they take a week off or something, maybe, but that's when they really are putting in the work. And they don't have the downtime where they are just going to float until the next season starts. That's not how it works. You have that time now to work on making yourself a better player, but you probably don't have that during the season.
Yeah, and during the season, players improve. There's no question about that. They improve through daily practice. They improve through regular games and whatnot, and they find out things about themselves and other players that they can utilize to help themselves. But the real development of a player actually takes place in that season other than the game playing season, the team season, let's say. And the thing that is really important, too, to understand is that we can't just all of a sudden assimilate the ability to use our hands and dribbling like Kyrie Irving or Curry or anybody like that. We can't do that just in a week or two. That's something that is a lifelong kind of thing for most players. I would love to have seen Kyrie Irving when he was 14 years old. He probably wasn't anything near what he is today. But the guy is just a magician with the basketball. But that didn't just happen. He spent hours and hours and hours and hours working on that, both in the season and in the off season. I mean, that's what you got to do if you're going to be any good.
Yeah, and when we are talking about all that, and we mentioned before the diligent, purposeful approach, you have to have a plan. When you go out there, it's not just you go out and you're going to casually shoot around, maybe do some hook shots from half court and some trick shots from behind the basket or whatever, and casually do that stuff. You have to get down to business. You have to have a plan, and you have to use the 3 pillars of practice that we talk about all the time, where you have the diligent, purposeful approach, where you're kind of working on putting all the mechanics and everything in the right place. Everything's slowed down, and you're just working on getting everything right. Then the second pillar, which is game speed, game intensity work, where you're amping it up to the game intensity speed, and you're really just kind of getting the stuff that you were dialing in up to where it needs to be when you get on the court. Then you get the third pillar, which is experience, and that's getting games and playing pickup games and stuff like that. A lot of times people, too, once the season is over, they start playing on a club team or a traveling team or whatever, but that's only one part. Where is your individual skill development? Because that's going to be what's going to take you to the next level.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point there, is that you get off and you're playing these travel teams and whatnot, whether AAU or whatever. Oftentimes their focus is more on just organization of a team so that you can go play. And then you exhibit whatever you're able to do. But if you're not able to be an effective player and exhibit high-level skills, there's not going to be anybody looking at you. And so the thing that's really important is get out and get to work on just making yourself better in all respects. We oftentimes have people will ask us, can you take and develop a program for us? Well, we probably could, but it may not fit you very well because we don't know you. And some people say, well, could you develop a program for a post player? Okay. And by the way, I'm only 6 foot. Okay. Well, we can do that, but the thing is that you need to be able to develop the kind of skills that you need for the team that you play for. We don't know about your team, and so we can't give you exacting kinds of things to help you get better.
And you shouldn't even focus on being that specific, anyways. You need to be good at everything.
Yeah,
And people do ask us like what programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We don't know, and that's hard for us to know. And you should be analytical enough that you are piecing together some of the things that you need to work on, that you need as a basketball player, which is everything. And that's the reason why on ShotScience.com we are putting together all of these things for you guys. So you can go there and you can start piecing together the program stuff that you want to use.
Exactly.
And we have videos and demonstrations and all that, and we want that there for you guys, because we could get specific and say, here's a workout plan for 6'7" post player, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But who cares? Like that guy should also be able to step out to the perimeter and be able to shoot, and he also needs to be able to bring the ball up the floor, or she, or whoever. And so it's really one of those things where you guys need to look at yourself analytically. Be your own coach. You're not going to get your hand held through any of this stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing that's really important too is if you're in a program already, let's say you're a sophomore in high school and you kind of know the program that you're in and that you're going to be playing in for the next several years, analyze what it is that they do, and then I would focus my development in that direction. And I'm talking about maybe they are typically a zone team. Okay, so take and study maybe how zones operate and what the rules are there. Or maybe it is a situation where you are playing in a 4-out or a 5-out offense. What do they do? Do they screen down and flash out? Do they attack the basket and look to kick the ball out? You need to find out what kind of offense that you're going to be playing in, and then kind of tailor your program to that as well.
I agree with that to a point too. There should always, though, be an underlying layer where you are working on your all-around skill development.
Absolutely.
Like, you might have a coach in 8th grade that comes to you and says, Hey Tom, you're going to be a post player because you're taller than all these other kids, and I want you to be a post player. If you focus just on being a post player and you get up into being a junior or senior in high school, all of a sudden everybody else is cut up into you in height, and now you have to play the shooting guard, and all you can do is, your Gasol post move situation that you got going on. Well, that's great if that's the situation that works for you. When you're in the post, but when you step out from the post and you have to play these other positions, you're going to be in trouble. So always have that underlying layer of, I'm going to work on developing myself as an all-around player. Doesn't matter what team you're on, be the Swiss Army knife guy that can do everything.
Well, and the obvious reason for that is that gives you more opportunities to play, because there may be somebody who gets hurt, who is sick. We went through a whole bunch of that this last couple of weeks with our team. We have 12 guys, and 6 of them were sick. Most of them were first-team guys, and so we ended up having to play 2 or 3 games with guys who weren't very skilled, and they did okay. But the point is in all of this is prepare yourself in this off season. That is so key.
Yeah. So that is the theme for today. Is that it doesn't. And if this isn't your off season, that's cool. But keep this in mind: when the season's over, that doesn't mean you're done.
It ain't over.
Yeah. That means that's your time to get ready and start making a plan, work on your individual skill development. And also, we've talked about this before too, is that it's also a good time to get in touch with the coach that's going to be your coach the next year. Because when you go into tryouts the next year, you don't want it to be the first time that coach is seeing you. Because you might have an off day, they might, and one reality is that most coaches have an idea of who they're going to have on their team anyway, and tryouts are kind of just to appease the masses.
Well, that's true.
Which is maybe not something that most people know if you're not a coach, but make sure the coach knows you, has seen you play, knows what you're working towards, what your goals are, and things like that. Because making the contact before tryouts is really important.
Yeah, and ask him for recommendations. Coach, you've seen me play a little bit. What do you think things I need to work on? And he will take and run that through his brain for a minute or two, and he say, okay, I think probably you'd be really best if you worked on A, B, and C. And that's where I'd put my efforts.
Yeah. So yeah, let us know what you guys are going to do in this off season. That's I'll ask that question later, but let us know what your plans are because we want to know if you guys are actually going to invest in yourself and do some work here. So that's going to be it for our topic for today. If you guys have more questions about that, let us know. But we're going to jump into answering your questions. But before we do that, we want you guys to answer our question, which is the question of the week every week, and that is this.
Every week. Where are you located in the world?
Yeah, where are you guys from?
Where are you from?
Where do you play basketball? Because we are in Santa Cruz, California. We are south of San Francisco, but we want to know, are you playing basketball in Germany? Are you playing basketball in South Africa? Are you in Japan? We want to know. So send us where you guys are from. We got Chris Guevara from Oakland, and we want to know. Edferson is from New York. Eddie Muyanga is from Atlanta, Georgia. So we're going to hit up a few guys as you send those in, but just let us know. Also, spread the word in your town about Shot Science Basketball because that helps us out hugely. Yeah. Also, make sure that you guys check out shotscience.com because on shotscience.com you can get all of our shirts. Like this is our Naismith is my homeboy shirt. Right. You can get the official Shot Science shirt. You can get all of our training gear, which is like stuff for training your athleticism and your vertical jump. You can get the jump box. And we also have Shot Science All Access, which is where we have all of our tutorial stuff on teaching you how to do things like shooting the basketball, playing our ball handling and vertical jump stuff. And if you go there, you'll see it's all broken down, very specific demonstrations and everything. And also, if you want to get the first month free, all you have to do is go at checkout, use the promo code #OneFreeMonth! All capitalized, 1 free month ! And you'll get a free month of that to check it out and make sure that it's really what you want to do. So
and let us know how you feel about that too.
Yeah, we'd love to hear how you guys are using that stuff. And also, if you get Shot Science gear from the website and you post it to social media, use the hashtag Team Shot Science, and we feature people that do that. Yeah. Because we love it that we see you guys out there with that stuff on. It's great.
Boy, look at the people here.
We got Giddy Witty from Maryland. I think he's here all the time. Kevion is from Memphis. Justin Holfield is from Sydney, Australia. Kevin Cole, he's our buddy from Ireland. Let's see.
Minnesota.
Phantom Reindeers is from Atlanta. Martin's Basketball Videos from Germany. Locke McLaughlin is from Los Angeles. LaFisk Videos near Minneapolis, Minnesota. Who else here? I guess, did we say James yet? James is from New Jersey. Okay.
Well, that's cool.
Awesome. Keep sending those in, you guys. We love to see that. We'll hit up more people as we go on. Let's get into some of these questions. Let's go back up to the top here. Let's see. Keegan Terra says, when I shoot, I take my assist hand off the ball. What should I do to keep my assist hand on the ball when I shoot? I am left-handed. Thanks.
Okay. One of the things that you want to remember is to get that assist hand off the basketball as you're ready to release. In other words, maybe you're getting right to the top and ready to release the ball. This hand should just come off the ball completely and make it a one-handed shot. And here's the reason, is that oftentimes when we shoot the basketball, go ahead and hold that up in your hand there, Casey. As we shoot, the thumb of this assist hand comes across the basketball and causes it to come out with a sideways rotation. It also will push the ball to the right and push it to the left. When you shoot the basketball with one hand, the ball tends to go much straighter. And so it will go where those fingers go. If this thumb is involved while you're shooting on the release, the ball will tend to go right and left. It'll be kind of crazy.
And not to mention, it's also another variable that makes your shot more complex. And some people have made claims that it's one of the keys in shooting. That is garbage.
No way.
Some people might do that, but that's because they've spent the time making it work for them.
Right.
You don't want your shot to be complicated with extraneous things that don't need to be part of it. Right. That really hurts your efficiency, which hurts your accuracy because repeatability is knocked down.
Yeah.
So eliminate the non-essentials. That thumb is the non-essential. But you're talking about your assist hand. Really, it just needs to fall away as you are elevating the shot.
Yeah.
You don't want it on there all the way up because that's another thing that can go wrong. Again, It should fall away. As you start to elevate, it can just fall away.
Yeah, you don't want it making any contact on the ball when you're releasing. It usually screws the shot up.
James Ianelli says, my season is almost over. My 6th grade team is 2-12. Well, I think that is a perfect scenario for you to lock this season up, then get to work on developing your individual skill development. And next year, maybe you'll come back and be the guy that really leads the team, and maybe you can inspire some of those other guys to do more work themselves.
That's my thought. Oftentimes you'll find that guys who play, and girls too, that play on basketball teams, or any team for that matter, when they kind of develop a camaraderie between a group of, let's say, 3, 4, 6 players, and they end up going out and they play on the city courts, they play in gymnasiums together, and pretty soon that they begin to be very accustomed to one another, and their skill development tends to grow, and that's where you get away from 2 and 12.
Yeah,
that's when you start to see people working closely together, knowing what the other person is going to do, and then you play more harmonious as a team, and you usually play a lot better.
Yeah, and here's a little anecdote that, I mean, you'll appreciate this too. But when I first started playing traveling team basketball when I was in 6th grade, my dad and some of the parents started a traveling team, and we had never played against players outside of our small little town.
Yeah.
And we're a small little beach town, and everybody knows everybody, that old thing. But we started playing over in San Jose. We started playing in Oakland and Alameda and San Francisco, and those are gnarly places to go when you're a kid from a beach town and you've never been there to play basketball, because basketball is taken very seriously in those places. It's a city, and it was scary.
Yeah.
And we would go there and we would get hammered. And we were the best players here in our county,
right.
But we would just get hammered. 40-point losses, 50-point losses, 60-point losses, and we didn't know what to do. But the next year we came back and we started winning some of those games by certain margins. By 8th grade, we were killing the other teams by 30, 40 points, and we were kind of in that space. And it was because we had pushed ourselves outside of our comfort zone. We had started to work more on our skill development. We saw what we had to be able to do, and you just have to keep growing. We probably matured a little bit too, but you should never be satisfied with 2 and 12, but you don't want it to be something that deflates your motivation. You want it to actually motivate you.
Well, there's another element to that whole situation that Casey didn't mention, and that is we made sure that everybody that played or was on the team played 50% of the time. Now, we may have missed a minute or two, but we made sure everybody played, and so everybody got better. The other element that was an important part of that is those players were coached up 2 or 3 times a week. And that wasn't just, okay, we got this 5 against that 5, and we're going to go up and down. They practice on their shooting. They practice on their defense. They practice on all elements of basketball. And so they began to get better and better and better.
Individual skill development.
Yeah, just as a result of, we actually, there was a point in time there where we had 8 teams, and we had 8 varsity coaches that were coaching those teams and helping them develop skills. And so that's one of the reasons also that they got better.
But the reason I was telling you that is because we were getting absolutely
thrashed,
annihilated. I mean, it was embarrassing. But we came back the next year and we were super competitive and we were winning a lot of those games. And then by the year after that, we were beating the crap out of people. Yeah. And it was a major turnaround that just came from a lot of effort. Yeah. Okay. LaFisk video says, just came off my 8th grade season. Got any more tips? Well, I mean, we give you all the tips. So just go watch any of our videos, and that's really what we'd say. But work on your individual skill development all around. Let's see. This one is from Alex Garcia, who says, hi from Virginia. I'm all right at everything. Should I specialize in one specific thing or gradually get better at everything? Get better at everything.
Yeah. This young man that I was working with this morning, I've known him for several years, and he excels in shooting, but he can't put the ball on the floor. And so we spent the whole session here with just putting the ball on the floor and getting to the basket, and he was really kind of rusty and not very good. And so that was our point to him too. It's time for you to get away from just shooting and start developing some ball skills, because there's going to be a point in time where the defense is going to get right into your grill and you can't get that shot off. And so now you have to take and go another route, and that is, okay, you crowd, I go.
Yep.
I mean, I'm going to the basket, and I have to have ball skills to be able to do that.
And you mentioned it before. If an opposing coach knows you have a weakness, they are going to expose that and take away whatever your strength is.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, PandaTube. I don't really get this full question, but he says, I'm a big man on my school team, 8th grade, and I guess he's playing with another tall guy that's bigger and stronger. How can I compete with him? And he says that he's 6 foot and the other guy's 6'2". Okay, here's the thing. 2 inches is nothing.
Yeah, 2 inches is nothing. Really.
But the other thing is this: so many people worry about their height. They just sit there and they just, oh man, I just wish I was taller, or I can't play against that guy because he's so much taller, or that girl is so much taller. Who cares? That is the one thing that you have zero control over, is your height and anybody else's height. So why even let it cross your mind? Use your strengths in those situations. In that situation, that's almost negligible, but maybe he is bigger and taller and stronger. So use things like, your own deception. Have your skills be to the level that he can't compete. Learn some post moves that are going to neutralize that. What do we call those? A counter move to all the moves that you use. So if you have a drop step middle, make sure that you have the up and under move, because he's going to catch on that you're going to do that drop step middle up into the hook shot. If you have the up and under, he's going to bite on that because he thinks you're doing the other move. If you're playing defense on the guy, front him, don't let him get the ball. Give him a hard time, get low, push him off his balance. I mean, there's so many things to do.
Well, here's a big one too. And we talk about this with our kids that I coach, and that is the big E. And big E, and you want to have one of those on your chest, big E, and that stands for effort. I went and watched some girl students of mine, and they're seniors in high school, and they were playing for the championship. And I hadn't seen them play this year. I'd seen them last year. And here's the deal. This young gal that was on the team, I remember her just not being able to shoot, not being able to dribble, not being able to do much of anything. And we spent time and time and time working on her, and she obviously was doing work on herself, on this all herself. She's probably about 5'6", and she was playing around the post. She was a literal animal, because she was going to get the ball, and if you weren't really hooked onto it tight, she was going to take it away from you. And so she was wearing that big E for effort on her shirt the other night in their championship game, which they came back and won on the last minute and a half of the game just through effort. And so anything that you do in the game of basketball has to be surrounded with effort. And that means that you're going full tilt and nobody's going to stop you, okay?
Yeah, and here's the other thing.
Within reason. You can't hurt people or anything like that, but you're getting after it, getting on the floor. One of the things that we talk about often, and it's probably not too meaningful for a lot of people, but we always talk about players who put bone on hickory, and what that means is that they're getting on the floor at their knees, their elbows, and they're getting after the basketball. And that's who this little gal was. There was 2 or 3 balls on the floor. She was in the middle of it and taking the ball away from people. So, and not a great player, but effort.
Yeah, and the other thing is that again, drop worrying about the attributes of you and the other guy.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
I can guarantee you people like Michael Jordan or Steph Curry, they're going up against guys that are literally a foot taller than them, and they're able to do what they do because they're that much more skilled, they're quicker, they're faster, whatever. We were talking about that story from earlier about us playing against other teams and stuff. When we were in 8th grade, we also played against a team from Utah that had some 8th graders, that were 6'10", and we were, if we were 6 feet, we were lucky. I think I was probably 5'10", but they were giants, but we still had to play against them. It's not like sitting there and worrying about how tall they are would have made it any better for us. I mean, you just got to go out there and play.
Yeah.
So drop that stuff. Who cares?
Yeah, right.
Chris Guevara says, what's the best way to prioritize my time in practice? Should I be working on strengthening my strengths or working on my weaknesses more in practice? I usually practice for about an hour a day. Everything.
Yeah, everything. And you don't have to do everything every day. Maybe you,
Well, it's good to touch on every
well,
aspect, like shooting and passing and dribbling and stuff like that.
Yeah, but if you have a program where you have maybe a Monday, Wednesday, Friday program, and then a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday program, that's okay too. And then try to touch all the things that you can, because you want to improve yourself in as many areas as possible.
Okay, keep sending us your questions, you guys, and where you guys are from. We want to know. Let's see. We got King of U13, who's Will from Milwaukee. What's up?
All right.
Let's see here. Christian Vire says, how can you get more accurate shots on the thigh line? I don't know what that means. How can you get more accurate shots?
Well, you take time and spend time trying to develop your stroke mechanics. And if you don't know what those stroke mechanics are, if you go to our videos on YouTube or on shotscience.com, you'll be able to see how we teach people how to shoot. And the things that we work on are trying to make you a very efficient shooter. And so we minimize the things that are not necessary to the fact that we don't even teach those. We make sure that the people do include those in their shooting. And then spend a whole bunch of time at it. And what happens is that you can actually be kind of not a very good shooter, but if you spend an awful lot of time on shooting, you can still probably develop a bit of proficiency. And some of the people that come to my mind is Reggie Miller didn't have the most beautiful stroke in the world as an NBA player, but he was able to shoot the ball pretty good. And there are other guys like
really
that
good
as well.
There's so many times that people try to emulate some basketball player. They see Steph Curry or they see Klay Thompson or they see Ray Allen or whoever, fill in the blank, and they want to shoot like that person.
Yeah.
That is one of the worst approaches that you can have to basketball. You should not try to shoot specifically like somebody else because you don't have their body, you have not put in the work, you have not, really, it's one of those things where it's a bad approach because you're a different person. So you need to take the fundamentals of shooting the basketball, apply those to yourself, and get efficiency and proficiency going on that. If you're trying to shoot like Steph Curry, it's going to take you that much longer to get anywhere near where he is using his body mechanics and methodologies because you don't have the same as him. Use the fundamentals, which is what he started with, to get to where he is.
Right.
Same thing with any of those other people.
Here's one right here. Let's see. How can you be a great playmaker? Okay, that's an interesting question. And the thing that kind of occurs to me is that you have to be very skilled in every aspect of the basketball game. You have to be able to handle the ball and handle it under pressure. You have to be able to have great vision on the court to see where your guys are. And one of the things that we talk about oftentimes that there's a couple of different kinds of vision that you use in basketball. One of them is what we call a hard focus. A hard focus is I'm looking right at that dude and I can see he's who he is, clear as bell. Another is a soft focus, when I have my peripheral vision working and I can see everybody out there, but I'm not focusing on a particular individual. And you have to have that kind of vision because maybe out of the corner of my eye over here, I see this guy making a back cut and I can get him the basketball. And so those things are really important. Now, you do need to be able to shoot the basketball. Most offenses encourage their point guards to shoot the ball a little bit. Some, not so much. They're playmakers. They actually create situations to help other players score.
Yeah, but I think even pigeonholing that is not good. Be an all-around player.
Yeah.
That is the whole, people, you want to be a playmaker, whatever, that's great. Be an all-around player, and then you don't have to worry about those little silly things. If you're able to handle the ball, distribute the ball, shoot the ball, they won't be able to take it away from you. Yeah. You can do whatever you want at that point. Yeah. So don't sit there and be like, I want to be a playmaker. I want to be a point guard. I want to be that's the worst approach you can have.
Yeah, and another part of that formula as well is understanding where people are and where people are going. Oftentimes we have offenses and playmakers could probably take and dial in every player on the floor in a particular play. They know he goes here, he sets a screen, he breaks here, and that's important for you to know. Other players, not quite so much. They don't necessarily play that way. But smart player, good vision, and making sure that you're trying to help your teammates be better as players. That's another key point.
Yeah, I just remembered, you guys, if you guys want your question answered for sure, we have this new thing called Super Chat. We have not tried it yet, but I guess you can click the little $ thing in the chat, and you can do a Super Chat, and it throws it up to the top of the list. So if you want to try that out, let us know, and we will definitely answer those questions. Okay.
What is that one there, Dan Dabrowski?
That's our buddy Dan Dabrowski, who always seems like he misses our live show, but he's here now. I think we gave him a hard time last time, but it's good to see you, Dan. I think our buddy Martin Basketball Video says, "Gotta sleep now. It's late in Germany. Have a nice Sunday."
Okay,
thanks, Martin.
You too.
See you next time. There's one here that I want to do. Phantom Reindeer, who says, "How to improve defensive footwork." That's the first pillar of practice.
Yeah.
You got to slow everything down and work on getting everything dialed in at a slow speed, and then go to the second pillar and start ramping it up to game speed, game intensity. Right. But if you go to our Defense 101 video, there's several of them actually, but Defense 101, you can see exactly all the elements that we think are essential to you getting the right kind of setup for that stuff.
Right. You know, one of the keys is learning what good defensive footwork is, and how you set up. And you know, it's too complicated probably to spend any time on right now. But if you go to those videos, you'll find that there's good information there to help you.
Defense 101.
Yeah.
Eddie is asking, how many hours a day should I work out to go to the NBA?
Boy, that's a tough one, because I don't think the number of hours that you might work out are going to translate into you being the criteria for you making the NBA.
It really doesn't.
No.
You could work every single minute of every single day, and you still might not make it. It's really, there are players that should be in the NBA that will never make it there.
Exactly.
So one of the things that we talk about is you have to set realistic stepping stone goals to really achieve those really huge, lofty goals.
Well, and on top of that, there's an element that is probably not something that everybody has, and that is athleticism. Your abilities to use your body to get certain things done that other people find it more difficult to do, or they're slower in doing it. And so athleticism, particularly on the NBA, I mean, some of those guys are just incredible in the things that they can do with their bodies.
Well, yeah, I think that there is different elements for what makes up an NBA player. Mm-hmm. Athleticism is one of the biggest.
Yep.
On top of that, most of them are genetically freaked out when it comes to their size. I mean, if you guys ever are around NBA players, and we spend time with some of those guys and some of the D-League guys and stuff, I can show you a picture of me standing next to a guy that is a foot taller than me. Yeah. I'm 6'2". He was 7'2", and it is ridiculous because he can probably run just as fast as me, and it is crazy. He reaches up and he's grabbing the bottom of the net easily. I mean, it is. These are not normal people. Yeah. They are people that have these incredible gifts of athleticism and height and athletic ability,
size, strength.
So one of the things that you need to always be aware of is that you need to be realistic in setting those goals. Sure, you could make it to that level. Yeah. You see people that are of more normal stature, like Steph Curry. He is also a great athlete as well. Yeah. But he's not a huge guy, and some of these people do make it, but you have to make up for that in other ways. And like we said, there's some people that do all the work, they have all of the attributes, but they never make it. And a lot of it comes down to luck. A lot of it comes down to where you are and who the people that you meet and stuff like that. So set these incremental goals, because those are less overwhelming and they're achievable and they help motivate you. Yeah. So it would be like, let's make the school team. That would be a good realistic goal. After that, it might be, okay, let's try to make it onto a traveling team or something like that. And after that, maybe it's, I want to try to be an all-league player. Maybe it's, I want to win the championship with my team. Then maybe it's, I want to play in college. Okay? Then maybe after that, it's I want to play overseas, or I want to play in the D League, or I want to try out for the D League, or whatever it is, and work yourself up in little incremental steps. And when it comes down to how many hours a day should I work out, we have no idea.
No.
We don't know you. We don't know anything about your game or who you are.
Well, the one thing that I will say on that one, though, is that it needs to be sensible. You know, you can go out and you can practice 6 hours a day, and probably there's 3 or 4 hours there where you are just dragging and not making much forward progress.
Yep.
And usually what I would recommend if you want to do something that is a little more in excess is maybe going 2.5 to 3 hours a day. That allows you time for recovery, physical recovery after you've had the workout and getting ready for the second one that maybe occurs the next day. I think you can overdo that training element a lot.
Yeah, and you know, you're in here asking too about how do you go from a mediocre player to an elite D1 basketball player.
It's the same program.
You almost like if you're asking that, that's not the right question.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you need to work on developing your skills every day. Prioritize what you need to do, and then it becomes again, how much time are you willing to invest? How much of it is actually being beneficial? Because if you're out there doing 10 hours a day, I bet there's a point where that gets to diminishing returns.
Yeah, and you begin to actually probably regress because of fatigue. Your brain doesn't stay on task, and so there's other things that kind of take you away from it.
And here's one of the things that we want to speak to you guys about too, is because, and you know, it's because we don't want to sugarcoat things, and we want to give you the real talk because we've seen people in these situations and stuff. Mm-hmm. And you know, a lot of times you talk to parents and they have unrealistic expectations of the kid. And when I say a lot of times, I mean most of the time. Yeah. You have to look at yourself realistically. Look at a D1 basketball player. Look at a professional basketball player. Those are the best in the world. When it comes to NBA players, there's only been a few thousand of them ever.
Yeah,
and when it comes to D1 basketball players, there's only a few thousand of them right now, I think. Yeah. And so you have to have realistic expectations. Grow incrementally towards reaching those. But to say, can I go from a mediocre junior in high school to NBA or D1 level? You got a lot of work ahead of you, number one. And number two, maybe that isn't a realistic thing to look at just yet. Because maybe as a junior, you can go and you can work on developing your game and you can become an elite player next year on your school team. I think that is maybe something that is within the realm of possibilities.
Sure.
And then after that, maybe you can get into a college program. Maybe you have to go to a junior college. Maybe you have to go start out in a D3 or an AI or whatever it is, and then work up. And maybe eventually you will get to a D1. And then when you get there, then you can start setting different realistic goals from there as well, right? I mean, we don't need to get too deep in that. We've done that before.
Here's just a passing thought for you on that too, is that oftentimes when you're looking to play in college basketball, don't set your goals totally just on D1. If you are capable of playing there, that would be super. But maybe you play on a lower level that Casey was talking about. And the levels go D2, D3, then they go NAIA, and I think there's 2 divisions there, and there's even a couple of divisions there, college teams, but they're not on the highest echelons like D1. But you know what? The basketball is great in all those levels. People love to play, and you get stories to tell when you've finished for the rest of your life.
Yeah, and the take home is you need to be realistic about things. And, you know, we don't know you. You could be incredible. We have no idea. Yeah. But most of the time when we hear stuff like that, people are not being realistic.
Yeah, right.
Okay, this is from Adrian Boniface, who says, I'm coaching a new 6th grade team, some experienced players, some never played basketball. How do I balance this level in practice?
Well, that is a challenging question. Well, the one thing that I think really helps, and we try to do this with the teams that I've been involved with for the last 15 or 20 years, and that is that when we have a disparaging difference between players, what we will do is we will tell our better players, we want you to help us coach. And the thing that we do is that if they see something that needs to be addressed, they call timeout, and we wait. Well, they go to that person and they tell them what they need to do. In other words, they are coaching up their peers and helping them get better. Coaches can't see everything that happens on the court, and it's really difficult to correct everybody or direct everybody at the same time. So we felt that by bringing that element in, they can help us coach the team. And you know what? You never really know something until you have to teach somebody else how to do it. And they benefit from that as well. And so I would encourage you to enlist your better players to help you coach the weaker players, at least for a period of time. And then what you may find is that then they all might start to mold into a situation where they're all kind of similar. It won't happen in a day or two or even weeks, but maybe by the time you get to mid-season, you will find that these players now are more functional, even though they haven't played before. We had one of those on our team this year. He'd never played basketball. He'd shot around a little bit, but first time I saw him, wow, I couldn't believe it. But he worked, and we spent time with him individually, and his teammates spent time with it individually. And by the time we got to about the 12th game of the season, we were ahead of somebody pretty good, and so we put him in, and he played okay. And then by the time we got to the last game, he had really improved his game, and he stopped me yesterday, and he wanted to know when he could start lessons. There's a guy who can see the future for him. I mean, he's not going to be a great player ever probably, but he loves the game now. He wants to get better, so he gets a chance to play more.
Yeah,
really easy to do.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Every team is going to be different, so you have to kind of feel that out a little bit. But if you can get those guys to start helping with the less experienced players, that's only going to be better. One of the frustrating things that you could do is just try to force things through and not address that stuff, because then the more experienced players, they feel like they're being bogged down. Give them something positive to do in that situation.
Exactly.
And
you'd be surprised how they adapt and go for that.
And if you need to work on skill development stuff, you can do that and have those people help out on that. But, don't turn them into purely coaches either. You got to have them participating as players, but helping bring everybody else up.
Absolutely.
Okay, Christian Thompson is asking how to get better vertical quick. Okay, you will not get anything quick when it comes to training stuff. It's one of those things you got to put in the work. There's no pill. There is no virtual reality thing that we can put on your head that will make it happen. You need to put in the work. We put together our program that we think is the best, most optimized way to help you guys get there. You can go to shotscience.com. You can get the all access pass. We have a whole training section in there on that. We also have the jump box and all the other training gear there. Those are all things that Chase, who is my brother, that he has a background in that. He has, multiple degrees in exercise science and things like that. And he works in that field that have kind of given him the ability to pick what is the good stuff in that and what is the good equipment for that. So if you guys want to check that out, go to shotscience.com.
Well, understand this too. When you're talking about increasing your vertical, that is not something you increase in a week.
Yeah.
It takes time for you to do that.
Okay, that ugly mother says, I'm 6 feet, but I want to shoot like I used to at the peak of my shot. It's about 7 feet. Well, if you want to do something, you've identified what you want to do, so you need to get to work on making it happen.
Just do it.
And, we suggest you do the 3 pillars of practice and really start dialing it in, then start getting it up to game speed.
Right.
Let's see. Christian Thompson says, are mixtapes important to getting to the major league? No. When it comes to whenever we are talking about mixtapes or highlight reels, there's a difference. Mixtapes are for entertainment purposes. Those are like what you would see like the street ball compilations or kind of the game stuff that they put out for entertainment. A highlight reel is part of something that you might send to a coach that you want to potentially play under to go to college or whatever. So you have that highlight reel. Inside that highlight reel, best plays, but also you have your best half of basketball that you can find.
Yeah.
And maybe you have some testimonials or some talking points from yourself. That is something that will help you get into a college program if somebody is not looking at you already.
Yeah.
So that's one that you could send out to as many coaches as you could. Mixtapes, coaches don't really care about that at all. If you're talking about the street ball mixtapes, they seriously, that's not even on their radar. If you're talking about like mixtapes of high school program stuff, but still, that's not really what we're usually talking about.
Yeah, coaches are interested in some of those highlight tapes, but not much, like Casey says. But they are really interested in how you play in the flow of a game. So his point there about sending them a video of you, maybe your best video of you playing a particular half of basketball, that will probably do you way more good.
Twisted Gremlin says, "Hey, coach."
Twisted Gremlin, hey.
Kevin or Kevion Dye says, "Coach, I'm shooting with the wrong fingers. How do I correct it, and how do I practice the flop finish?" Those are good questions.
Yeah, you've identified your problem there, that you're shooting. You think you're shooting with the wrong fingers, and if you're shooting in anything other than those two right there, you are shooting with the wrong fingers. And remember that shooting a basketball is so much like throwing a baseball. You grip a baseball with those three fingers.
Well, to release a little bit.
Yeah, and so that's the ones that you're going to release the ball off of. Sometimes the third finger, if you have a longer third finger, it gets involved as well. But when it comes down to you releasing the ball off of those fingers, it causes the ball to have side rotation, and obviously the ball is probably going to go one way or the other. When you keep these two right here, off the ball last, and they're going directly to the middle of that basket every time, and you haven't got the thumb of the other hand screwing the shot up, you're going to be so much more accurate. When we have somebody who has that thumb, somebody asked this question earlier today, who has that thumb that's corrupting their shot, we take that hand away completely, and they do nothing but shoot the ball with just a single hand, which everybody can do. But what you find out is, oh, wow, the ball goes straight when I shoot it with that one hand. And so...
and, there's people out there, too, that keep talking about how it's an important part of the shot, and so does that in their shooting.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if anybody does it. If it doesn't logically make sense, then you don't need it. Yeah. So why start there?
Yeah.
And, when it comes down to shooting, it's just like any other ball sport. If you're trying to deliver the ball with two hands, I mean, what other sports are really doing that? I mean, it's another area or a variable for something to go wrong. Yeah. In football, you're not going to throw the ball with the other hand influencing it. Baseball, same thing. Bowling, same thing. There's a few people that do the two-handed thing, but that's like a major outlier.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where when we're teaching shooting, everything needs to be efficient. You should be doing it for a reason. If you're doing something that doesn't need to be there, then that's something that can go wrong. It's something that is not repeatable, and so your accuracy will fall off. So when people are harping on you, well, you got to do that because so-and-so does that, that's one of those things where you should immediately be skeptical and look at it analytically and think, well, does that even make sense? And if it doesn't, then you should discard it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay, the last part of his question there is, how do I practice the flop finish? Well, you go to our videos and see what it's all about. One of the things that some people do when you're trying to teach them the flop finish, which is that very relaxed flop over the wrist, is that they think that that's going to shoot the ball softer. And usually what will happen is it'll be short. You don't want to hold back at all. Your stroke is the same all the time, and it's just that you relax this part of your anatomy, your wrists and your fingers. You want to be very relaxed.
No snapping, no flicking. Those are not what we want.
Right, and what happens when you do that is the rotation of the ball slows way down. The volume, or not the volume, but the velocity of the ball does not change, merely slows the rotation down. And the reason for that is that we want to have a ball that exhausts very little energy when it hits the backboard or the basket. Typically, it's going to be off the rim. And so if it has very little rotation on it, there isn't going to be very much power to be exerted when it runs into it. It's going to take in short bounces. And those short bounces around the basketball with a nice arc, that's gold. That's gold.
Kevion, we would suggest going to shotscience.com. We have a full section on shooting in the all-access area. We break it down and we show you exactly what we're talking about. with visuals and all that. Okay, lightning round because we need to get through a couple of these before we get out of here. Okay.
I'll try.
Let's see. I saw one I wanted to. Our buddy Den V Star says, "Would love to thank you for your last answer for my question about not going to professional basketball. I'm not upset about it anymore. You kind of brought my passion back. Thanks." I think that was from one of our last ones that we did. And we weren't trying to kill any aspirations.
Never.
We just wanted to help you set kind of realistic goals and realize that there's not always one path. There's some other things that you can do.
Yeah, and we're so happy about your passion for the game. That's cool.
Let's see. Stussy Vibes HQ says, "Coach, when I shoot, I don't know what amount of strength I should use. When in mid-range, 3 and close, I usually airball or muscle out the shot. Got to work on it."
That's really what it all is spending time working on developing the right stroke mechanics. And the right stroke mechanics have to do not only with just the mechanics of it happening, but also finding out how much power it takes to get the ball to the basket from 6 feet, from 12 feet, from 20 feet. And you do that through just continual practice. And pretty soon you begin to put those shots in there from all of those distances because you practice them a ton from that distance.
Exactly. And, we would also say that go check out the form shooting drill.
Yep.
That is really a way to develop that close shot, working into the mid-range, and then getting the feel for the three-point, and having kind of a regimented approach to it. So check that out. LaFisk video says, "How would you get quicker feet? You got to work on footwork drills, dot drills, ladder drills, jump rope, things like that."
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much you can improve your footwork with the drills that Casey's talking about there with the dot drills and ladder drills. I mean, it's amazing what you can do. We don't usually have very good footwork sometimes because we never work on it.
Our buddy Kevin Kolev from Ireland says, "What is the best move, e.g. pick and roll, for building chemistry with a teammate at, say, lunchtime?" That's a good way to get a good little chemistry going.
Sure.
I think one of the things is you should always be moving without the ball. That is the best way to kind of get things moving, get the defense off balance, and get something going. But that's kind of setting up a little two-man offense or something.
It is.
Okay. Golden Wolf, how do you get better at ball handling? Got to work on it.
You just spend time on it.
Go check out shotscience.com all access. We have a whole section on it.
Yeah, and it's not fun to do, but it sure pays off in the long run.
Yep. Okay, Frodo Killer 23 says, "Can you make ball handling training for every day?" We have. It's on shotscience.com.
Yeah, you go there and look. It's there.
And we have some short videos on YouTube as well, but we put most of our kind of very in-depth, deep stuff on shotscience.com. Yeah. Okay, so that's going to be where we have to end it today, you guys. If we didn't get to your questions, it's not because we didn't like you. It's because we just ran out of time. I haven't been saying that recently, which somebody reminded me. So if you guys didn't get your question answered, you can reach out to us anywhere on our social media stuff, whether that's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. We are typically on those things all the time. So if you guys have questions, let us know. If you want to get any of the Shot Science gear, go to shotscience.com. Get a Shot Science shirt. Hashtag Team Shot Science on any of your posts, and we will try to feature as many of you guys as we can with that stuff. Check out Shot Science All Access. Free promo code for the first month is 1 free month ! At checkout. We would love to have you guys check that out. Let us know what you think. And we also want to ask you guys 2 questions before we get out of here. And that is this. 1, where are you guys from in the world? We want to know. We want to know if you're going to help go out and tell people in your town to check us out. That would be awesome. And the second question is this, your season is over. Now what are you going to work on?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yep.
So let us know where you guys are from. And 2, let us know what you're going to work on. All right? Thanks you guys so much. And we will see you guys next time.
All right.
Bye.
Goodbye.